All right, so how would you like to make over $300,000 in pure profitable sales using nothing more than Amazon PPC? Well, that's what I've done in my own business, see here, and today I'm going to show you in this video exactly how you can do that for yourself as well. So let's get into it. What is up, guys? So today I'm going to take you for a complete step-by-step walkthrough of Amazon PPC from start to finish. By the end of this video, you'll know the hacks and the method that I've used to achieve massive results and amazingly profitable sales using nothing more than Amazon PPC. You'll know exactly how to set up and optimize your first Amazon PPC campaigns, as well as what are the most common mistakes that you absolutely must avoid when doing this. So this is the complete tutorial that I wish I had when I was starting, because I had to go through thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours to figure these things out. But first, if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Myles and I'm a 7-figure-a-year Amazon FBA private label seller. It's been less than 2 years since I made my first sale on Amazon. And in that time, I've generated over $1.6 million in sales, here, and here. And it's completely changed my life. So I've been able to travel around the world to exotic places like that one, this one, and that one, with the time and the freedom to basically do the cool shit that I want to do with my life in my 20s. So I've already done this for myself, and now it's your turn. If you want to escape the 9-to-5 rat race, and if you're aspiring to live a better life, I'm here, and this channel is here to support you on your journey to achieving that. So if you're ready and you're willing to put the work in, then make sure to subscribe to the channel right now and click the notification bell button to be the first to see my new videos each week. I'm really excited as well to announce that I have something super special coming. If you're ready to achieve that financial freedom and that lifestyle freedom, but you're just waiting to take that first step, so I'm working on a really exclusive program at the moment that'll use my mentoring, my knowledge, and everything that I've learned over the last 2 years to help accelerate a select few of you and just make that journey happen much faster. I've got to stress that access is going to be super limited. It'll be first come, first served. So it's really only if you're super serious about actually taking action and doing something to improve your life. If that is you, then the first link in the description down below, click on that and enter your contact info, and I'll reach out to you with more details. So I hope you find this incredibly useful. Make sure you stay tuned right until the end, because I will be revealing the advanced hacks that I use so that you can get started on Amazon PPC the right way and just immediately start killing it. Take notes as we go along, bookmark the video as well, because there's lots to learn and to revisit again and again, and let's start. Okay, so before we get into the advanced stuff, it's really important that you understand all of the basic concepts. That foundation has to be there before we can move on. So first of all, what is Amazon PPC? You can also call it sponsored ads, by the way, different names for the same thing. But PPC stands for pay per click, and it does as the name suggests. Basically, Amazon will charge you a cost per click for you to place an ad on their search results. So what do they actually look like? Let's take a quick look. So I've typed in exercise mat as an example search, and we can immediately see that the first results, the only thing that you see when you load up this page, are ads. So we see right at the top here, sponsored by Gorilla Mats, exercise mats, extra large, ultra durable. Now this is actually a headline search ad, and this is not something that I'll be talking about today. This is separate to Amazon PPC Campaign Manager, and this requires brand registry. It's a topic for another video for another day. Now, if we look down one below, we actually see it's the same brand advertising, but now they're using sponsored ads. And this is the one that we'll be talking about today. Now, again, the key thing to note here is that if you're a customer, you haven't seen any organic search results. At this point in time, you've done your search and all you can see are ads. Maybe you don't realize that, but that's what they are. Now, I want to show you a really interesting graph just to illustrate how important this point is and to drive home the importance of having optimized Amazon PPC campaigns. Now check this out. So this graph is showing us the number of sales by the number of rank. And so at the very, over to the right here, we have, this is the #1 result on the page, and then going down, you know, you probably got the first page probably ends about here, second page, and then so on and so forth. Now the absolute most important thing that you must take away from this is that the #1 result, you can see how many sales it's getting. It's getting more than all of the pages on, you know, like page 4 and 5, all of those sales combined are probably roughly equal to the #1 result. So you can see from this graph that actually getting to that #1 spot is absolutely critical for your product. And Amazon PPC gives us the opportunity to get a new product, which otherwise would be down here somewhere on like page 5, page 6, you know, out of sight, out of mind. It allows us to leapfrog that product all the way up to here and potentially take all of these sales, as many as that entire page that it was on previously. And that brings us to the next point, which is why I use Amazon PPC. And the answer is simple. As you've just seen, it means more sales, more money, and therefore more profits. If you're new to selling on Amazon, then there's really one thing that you have to understand, and that is that winning the game is about getting your product to the top. There are millions and millions of customers waiting to buy your product, but they have to see it first. So to get access to those millions of customers, we have to be able to move it from here to here. But the secret to Amazon PPC isn't just about getting your ad to leapfrog that product up here temporarily. Because if you're just worrying about the ads themselves, then you're still paying that money. Every time somebody clicks on that ad, you're paying money to Amazon, and that is coming out of your profit margins. You get access to a vast amount of sales, but you pay for them. So the secret is the second way in which Amazon PPC helps get your product up to the top, and that is by helping with your organic ranking. So if we scroll down and we get to this listing, and actually most of the listings below it, they're here organically. So this is not an ad, it doesn't say sponsored. If you click it, this seller balance from, they're not paying anything to Amazon because you clicked. They're just here, they're ranked here. And the reason why all of these products are here in this particular order, with this one at top, followed by that one, is because Amazon's ranking algorithm has decided that they should be there in that order. Amazon's algorithm is, it's kept secret and it's very complex, but what we do know is that a key factor in winning that algorithm is sales velocity. So all that means is making this product have sales against that specific keyword, in this case, exercise mat. We also know that a sale through Amazon PPC counts exactly the same as an organic sale. So every time you appear at the top, up here, through PPC, and then you make a sale for that keyword through PPC or not, it doesn't matter, it actually tells Amazon that your product should be closer to the top in those organic rankings. And so the way to hack this and really win this system overall, not just in terms of PPC, but in terms of your overall Amazon product, is to think about your product that's down here. So it's down here normally, organically, and then you pay for it to be up here. And then when you get a portion of these sales, every time you get those sales for that specific keyword, then Amazon starts moving your product up, 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 up in the organic rankings. And what happens is if the product is right, the price is right, everything's done correctly, then you end up here organically. And then you're there, you're not only there organically, but you're probably also up here through PPC as well. So you're keeping other people out. And that is when you have a winning product. Another reason why you absolutely must be doing this is to get search term data. This process that I just explained to you, this snowball effect, this happens on a keyword by keyword basis. So where you can imagine this like fighting this battle on each keyword, and you have to win as many little battles as possible for each of these keywords. And the most important keywords with the most relevant, with the highest volume, basically where the most people are looking for your product. Now the issue is that in advance, it's impossible to know exactly which keywords are the battles that you should be fighting. Sometimes your product just doesn't match a particular keyword, or in other times, there are too many other sellers on a particular keyword, and so you just can't compete because it costs too much. Now, the absolute treasure chest that Amazon PPC is going to give you is a search term report of all of the exact keywords or search terms that your customer is looking for to find your product and to buy it. And when you have that data, you're able to optimize your Amazon listing so it appeals more to that person. You're also able to optimize it so that it appeals more to Amazon's algorithm, which again, as we mentioned, is the most important thing to understand. And you're also going to understand which keywords you should be targeting with PPC so that you can start this process of moving that product up in those rankings all the way up to number one. Okay, so how much does it cost to use Amazon PPC? Now, Amazon uses an auction bidding system that's based on keywords. And each keyword, like here we have exercise mat, has its own little auction going on constantly updating, constantly changing. So that means if you're selling an exercise mat, you're bidding against other exercise mat sellers, but if you're selling boxing gloves, you're bidding against other boxing glove sellers. Amazon's bidding system also adjusts the cost per click for you based on your own product relevancy and performance. So it's actually impossible to say exactly how much it will cost. You just need to get the product running and test it and see, and then adjust based on what works and what doesn't to make your Amazon PPC campaigns much more profitable and much more efficient over time. So what we'll be doing is showing you the most efficient and the fastest way to make those tests happen so that you spend as little money as possible, getting to the point where those PPC campaigns are really just churning out profitable sales. So while it is impossible to estimate the exact cost per click that you'll be paying for your specific Amazon product, we have some tools available to us now as sellers that do allow us to make a really good estimate ahead of time of how much those bids will cost. And the one that I want to show you now is Jungle Scout Keyword Scout. It's available as part of the Jungle Scout web app, which is $39.99 a month. And the feature that you're interested in, if you want to know how much your PPC is going to cost ahead of time, is by looking at this here. And I've already typed in boxing gloves as an example, but we can see 3 columns here are the ones that we want to know about. So HSA, exact, and broad bids. Now HSA, going back to the other example, our exercise mat, this is the headline search ad or HSA. So as we can see, it's quite a lot more expensive. So that's $5.28 to be displayed up here. So the next column, exact PPC bid, that's the one that we're really interested in because that is going to be this or this position. And the $1.12, what it actually means is that with around about 90% confidence, if you bid that much, you'll end up here with your PPC ad. Now, flipping back again, the broad one, we'll talk about that later, but basically that's more expansive. But realistically, if you want to estimate your PPC costs ahead of time, then go and get Keyword Scout and look for the exact match PPC bid. Two reasons here why the number here will be a little bit different to what you actually end up paying. Now, first of all, the cost per click is slightly different to your bid. And that's again a function of Amazon's own algorithm working out how relevant your product is, how likely it is to perform in that ad spot. And we can't control that. Again, the only way that we know that is by looking at our search term data. The second reason is that this number changes over time. So again, we have all of these different sellers bidding different amounts, and this number will adjust with that. So because Keyword Scout, it only grabs the data, I don't know, maybe every week or every month, this can go out of date, but in my experience, it's actually quite accurate within around 10%. Now, here's a quick tip. It's not always about getting one of these two spots and paying that $1.12. You can actually pay less than that. And in fact, Amazon will often give you cheaper bids, cheaper clicks, but what it will do is it will put you further down this list here. And there's normally quite a few ad spots. Let me find one. There's one and there's another one. So both of these are further down on that first page. And if we go to that great image that I showed you before, this one here, you can see that those top two spots, obviously they're getting the most traffic, the most eyes on them, so they're more expensive. But if you want to pay less, you can bid a low amount, and what will happen is that you'll be exposed with these, maybe they're results number 5 and 6, so they're down here. So you're getting less exposure, but you're also paying less for that exposure. Now, the effect that we talked about before, which is making those sales from here to increase your organic ranking from here and then pushing it upwards, that still happens. So if your budgets are low or you just want the most profit possible out of your PPC, what you can do is instead of bidding high and getting these top results, which I showed you before, you can move it down and lower the bid. And what Amazon will do is it will automatically give you these results down here, or you can lower it even more and you'll get these results down here. So you'll get less sales, but you still get that ranking effect as well as making more profit from each sale. Moving right on, here's another hack if you want Amazon to pay for you to travel around the world for free. All you have to do is to pay for your PPC using a travel rewards credit card. Now, PPC costs a lot of money. It really adds up. You can see here, I've spent $73,000. I'm not from the US, so I don't have any specific ones to recommend. Do a Google search. I mean, these are just the ones that popped up when I had a look, but it really can add up. The way to make sure that you're paying for your PPC using a credit card is to go to settings and then account info. And when we're here, we'll go to charge methods. And then in charge methods, let's just go to add new charge method. Select the marketplace and you can go through here and add in your credit card details. So that's just one little trick that could get you, thousands of dollars down the line in free travel. So the next little hack is just something I wanted to share, and that's just to get $50 in free click credits to get you started. So this will just give you a little bit of room to play, a little bit more experimentation to find which keywords are working, which aren't working, without having to pay, which is always nice. So I'll leave that link down below in the description. Just click through there and then you can get the $50 in free credits. Do make sure to go down to the bottom and just read the terms and conditions. These dates they have here at the moment, time of filming, between July and the end of September. But I'm pretty sure I signed up using the same link about 2 years ago. So I think those dates just keep updating. Other than that, there's not much to it. All right, guys, so we've gone from the start. We know what Amazon PPC is, exactly how it works, and why we need to be using it. Now, how do we actually go and get started with our first PPC campaigns, and how do we get them set up right so that we can have success immediately and again, just start making those profitable sales instead of just burning a hole in our wallet? So there are two ways that we can go about this, and realistically, they both end up at the same point. It's just that the ways of getting there are slightly different. Now, this will depend on what else you're doing at this time. So whether you're launching using a giveaway or some other external source, or if PPC is your only way of starting. So the first way is a little bit slower, and in this, you're just gonna start with an automatic ad campaign. You're gonna let that run for 1 week so you can gather some data, and you're gonna let Amazon basically do its thing with your product and try and work out what the right keywords are. Again, Amazon has that treasure trove of data where it can link your product to this whole network or web of other products and really find out what's the most relevant, what works the best. So if we do it like this, we're gonna let that automatic campaign run for a whole week, and we're not gonna look at it during this period of time as well, because the PPC sales take around about 24 to 72 hours to actually show in Campaign Manager. So if you look at this a day or 2 days after you've started, you won't see any sales show up at all. You'll see the spend go up, but the sales will stay at 0. That can be really worrying, but you have to just sort of relax and let it do its thing. So once we've let that run for at least 7 days, then we'll go and generate a keyword search term report. Then we're gonna sort the report by the highest converting search terms. So those are the search terms or the keywords that made the most sales. So that's Amazon's system working out, again, what are the most relevant keywords for your product. We're going to take them, knowing them now, and we're going to take that and do keyword research. We're going to brainstorm longer tail keywords and find out other relevant keywords related to those ones that are converting. Then we're going to plug all of those into a manual campaign. And the benefit of doing this is that then the manual campaign, it has more proof already put into it. So you'll spend a little bit less in that manual campaign because you've already done that work with your automatic campaign. So after letting that run for another 7 days, then we'll run a new search term report. And from there, that's when the optimization process starts. So we're going to start optimizing our bids, looking at negative matching, so taking keywords out of those campaigns, as well as continuing to add new ones in. And that's really where the fun begins and where you can really start to scale your PPC campaigns. And again, going to this previous graph, as we start scaling those keywords that are performing, increasing the bids on them, increasing our budgets, then that's when we'll start to see this product going from here all the way up to here. Now, I said that's the slow way, and the fast way is, again, quite similar. It's just gonna do it a little bit faster. So with the fast way, we'll do the keyword generation first before we start our PPCs. Next, we're gonna create the automatic campaign and manual campaign at the same time. Now, we don't have the search term report with the real data in it, so we're just going to use our keyword list into our manual campaign. So obviously that means that those keywords aren't proven, and you'll probably spend a little bit more money finding out which keywords work and which don't. However, if you've done the keyword research correctly, you'll find that most of those keywords do perform anyway. So once we've started both of those campaigns at the same time, we're again going to let it run for 7 days and then download that search term report, find the highest converting keyword terms, and then take those highest converting terms and repeat that keyword research process and add those new keywords into the manual campaign again. As we're adding them in, we're also going to optimize the bids. And again, this is where that optimization process starts and where you're able to start scaling your campaigns. So just to get started with our basic definitions, we need to know what the difference between an automatic and a manual PPC campaign is. Basically, automatic is really hands-off. You don't need any keywords at all. You just start the campaign and tell Amazon which product you want to advertise. So Amazon will then take your product, analyze the keywords and the copy that you've made in your listing, as well as the category and various other factors, and it will start to fit it in with other products that it knows. So it has the single biggest and most accurate data source to be able to do this with millions of products and probably billions of data points. So let Amazon do its thing with an automatic campaign. All you do is you set the bid price, the product, and then Amazon does everything else. So the idea is that Amazon will find those best performing keywords for your product and then start to show more of your product for those keywords. A manual campaign, however, you do everything, as the name suggests, manually yourself. So you need to find the keywords yourself, add them into that list, set the bids. Now you can set the bids manually for each keyword, whereas in an automatic campaign, you have no control over that. So one quick question, what is the difference between a search term and a keyword? Now I've been using the terms keyword and search term in a very similar way, but they have different meanings, and so let me explain. So a keyword is a word or a set of words that you define in the ad manager to tell Amazon what to target your ads towards. A search term, however, is exactly as it indicates. So if somebody types in exercise mat into that search bar, then that is a search term. So to make this a bit clearer, I'm going to use this example of bamboo skewers. Now every keyword then has a match type associated with it, which actually defines which group of search terms relate to that keyword. So we have 3 match types for keywords: broad, phrase, and exact. And exact is the most specific match type. So that most closely matches, if you type a keyword being bamboo skewers, the search terms that you'll get back under an exact match are very, very close to bamboo skewers. So for example, here we've got bamboo skewers, bamboo skewer, which is a plural versus a singular, or a misspelling. And in fact, Amazon isn't that good at picking up misspelling, so realistically you could almost consider it as simply that keyword. So exact is the most restrictive, but it's also the most specific and the most relevant. Phrase match becomes a little bit less specific because you can take bamboo skewers in that order, those 2 words, bamboo and skewers, and then you can put other words in front or behind of that and it will still trigger under phrase match. So for example, a search term could be somebody typing in eco-friendly bamboo skewers, and that will turn up under phrase match, but not exact match. Now, broad match is the least restrictive and also therefore usually the least relevant because all it needs is bamboo and skewers. They don't have to be in that order. They can have words in between or on either side. For example, skewer bamboo would also trigger under broad match, but it wouldn't trigger under phrase or exact. Okay, so we've come really far in defining our PPC campaign strategy. We know the difference between automatic and manual campaigns, and we also know the difference between the match types, broad, phrase, and exact for manual campaigns. But when we're setting up the manual campaign, now the question is, which match type should we use? And at this point, let me just stop and say that a lot of different sellers, gurus too, but specifically sellers who are actually selling on Amazon, will tell you different things to do here because everybody has their own personal style. And in this case, there isn't really any one particular method that just stands above all else. And I'll say this again, and I can't stress it enough, but the common theme with PPC is that you need to be able to test and experiment and then use the results of that data, use the results of your PPC campaigns to improve them and optimize them and do things based on what works for you, your business, and your product. So I use broad and exact, I don't use phrase at all, and I'll explain why. So the three things that I'm considering are the relevancy, the cost, and the ease of management. So this is the thing, guys, if you start launching more and more products, which I assume this is your goal, all of this stuff, it takes a bit longer to manage. So it doesn't take long each week or each month to do. But if you have 10 products, 20 products, for example, each product takes time to go through the search term report, to look at those keywords, to find out what works, what doesn't. And each keyword requires a certain amount of money spent on it to be able to get that data to make those decisions. So if your number of keywords starts blowing out and you're using, like exact, broad, and phrase as well, then you actually have to spend 3 times as much money to be able to work out which keywords are good and which are bad. So in my particular case, I have a lot of products and I want to keep things easy to manage. So the reason why I'm using the broad campaign is because, again, Amazon is better at finding relevant search terms than any other source. It has millions or billions even of data points that it can plug your product directly into to find those best matches. So I say just let it do its work. It's the same as an automatic campaign in that regard. So then you might ask, why not phrase? Well, actually anything that turns up for phrase will also turn up for broad. If we look here at the previous example, we can see that eco-friendly bamboo skewers is a phrase match. It will also fire on broad, there it is. Same with barbecue bamboo skewers, it's not there, but it will also fire on broad. And marshmallow bamboo skewers as well will fit into broad. So I just don't want to have to pay that money twice with the broad and the phrase keywords to work out which works and which doesn't. And again, going back to the same point, I found this out through thousands and thousands of dollars spent on phrase groups, and I found out that broad simply worked just as well, if not better than phrase. And so for ease of management, I now no longer use phrase match. Then we have our exact match keywords, and the reason why these are absolutely critical is relevancy. So with your exact match keywords, you're going to be getting the tightest, most focused search term results possible. So if you're bidding on an exact match keyword, you know exactly what is going to show up. You know that that product is relevant. Once you've got the data and you've tested it, we know that that keyword converts, and so all we have to do is adjust our bid, and if we want to adjust it up, we can scale that campaign and really make it powerful. On the flip side, if we're just doing broad or phrase, then that budget and those bids are spread between all of these different keywords, some of which work well, some of which don't, but we have no way of controlling it. So exact match is going to be absolutely critical to scaling your PPC campaigns to profitability and beyond. So to summarize our PPC campaign strategy, we're going to use broad match just like we're using our automatic campaigns to generate these new search terms, get Amazon finding the relevant keywords for us, and then when we do our optimization and analysis of our search term report each week or each 2 weeks, then we're getting all of those new search terms, we're converting them into exact match keywords, and the exact match keywords are the powerhouse, that scalable foundation of our PPC advertising campaigns. Okay, so we've gone through almost everything you could possibly want to know about the theory and the strategy of Amazon PPC. Now we're ready to finally get into PPC Campaign Manager and get all of this set up. Okay, so once we go through this 7-step process, which I'm going to walk you through right now, then you'll be 100% ready to supercharge your PPC sales and maximize your profits. So step number 1, we're going to generate a keyword list. Now you may have already done this as part of your product research, and if so, that's great. Just make sure that you have around about 50 to 100 keywords. I'm going to do this using Keyword Scout again, quite simply. So if we go to Keyword Scout, and I'm going to continue with the exercise maths example using the same data that we brought up before, I'm just going to export this straight away as a CSV, and just make sure that if you are using Keyword Scout, you go from the 25 to the 200 result display, and I've sorted by exact match search volume, and I'm just going to download the first 200 results and use that. So there are 3,000 results in total, but we can't add that many to a PPC campaign anyway, and most of them are irrelevant or have very, very small search volume. So if we do the 80-20 and do this simply and quickly, then we're going to take the top 200. So I exported it to CSV, and now I've opened it up, and you can see we've got 200 results, and obviously a lot of these last ones have incredibly low search volume. So they're nice if they're long tail ones, they could be quite cheap potentially. I can see the bids here are actually quite variable, high and low, but that's okay. So we're going to sort by exact match search volume. So we're going to go through this list now. And as we said before, we need to get around 50 to 100 results. I'm going to take the first 100 in this case, and we also need to filter out irrelevant results. So the relevancy score that Keyword Scout gives us is really useful, but we just need to do a bit of a manual check to make sure that it's correct, because sometimes it can throw up some funny results. So if we go back to Amazon and we look at these search results, we can get a good idea of what those most relevant keywords are and just make sure visually to check that those products really make sense for what we're looking for. So in this case, we're looking at the number one result, so you can assume that their title will be optimized. But after all of these words, the most descriptive one is exercise yoga mat with carrying strap. Exercise yoga mat. So let's go back and have a look at that. And really, it looks like a lot of these are variations of yoga mat. So I'm going to look at some of these non-relevant ones here. Probably these, what have we got? Home gym. That's something that you could probably burn a lot of money on with PPC, because especially with things like broad match, you'll get home gym and then all of these variations of home gym. And the vast majority of those keywords, sorry, the vast majority of those search terms that Amazon will turn up will be like home gym weights, or, you know, like large home gym or something like that. And none of those things are really very specific to what we're looking at, which is an exercise mat or a yoga mat. So the relevancy score here of 5 is very correct. And so we definitely want to drop that off that list. Puzzle mat as well. I'm not even sure what a puzzle mat is, but definitely looking at flooring as well is just far too broad to be profitable with broad match PPC campaigns. So all of these three here, yoga mats is correct, obviously, and floor mat as well, too generic. Yoga mat strap is a related product, but it's not actually the product that we're looking at. So I would probably say, just based on these top results, that we would get rid of, keep the 9 and get rid of the 5s and the 6s. Yeah, let's go with that. So we'll get rid of the 5s and the 6s. And again, these are not absolute numbers. I'm just looking at this and making that decision based on the products that I'm seeing and the keywords, and making a judgment call as to what's relevant and what's not. So I'm going to get rid of those two. And what we're left with is still lots of results. And then I'm going to do another second scan and just make sure that that's still correct, because it is a balance between getting the exact match search volume on one hand and the relevancy score on the other hand. And there's no exact answer as to these cutoffs or anything. It really depends on what you want to put into your PPC campaigns. Remembering, of course, that this is only the first input. And so once we've done this, all of the real value, the ability to scale and the ability to start making like large amounts of profit, comes from that optimization process later on. And so again, all of this is just like the starting point. So we don't have to worry about it too much. It will like save you a bit of money at the start, but again, that end result will be the same as long as you're doing the rest of the process correctly. And actually that one's an outlier. I see it's even in a different category to the rest. So I'm gonna manually delete that one. And then all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the first 27, how many are we left with? 85, 94. So I'm going to take this first 100 minus that specific one that I don't like and use that as my starting keyword list. Okay, so step 2, let's go straight into Campaign Manager and create these campaigns. So we're here in my main account. I've gone to Advertising, Campaign Manager, and I'm going to go to Create Campaign. We'll start with the automatic. Now, in terms of campaign name structure, we can call it anything we want. But again, if you're looking at this in terms of a real business and you want to have 5, 10, 20 products later on, it's always best to do these things right from the start, get it set up correctly in a way that's not going to cause you confusion or issues down the track. So my setup is that I have the product name followed by the campaign type. So in this case, it's going to be, what do we have? A yoga mat auto. Start date can be whenever you want. Start it today. No end date. This is a campaign that we will continue forever. And then the daily budget, let's put $15. Honestly, the daily budget, people again will recommend different things. I like to start with around $10 to $15. Some people go very aggressive, they put 40, but a lot of the time you won't even spend up to that budget anyway. So $15 I think is fine. Automatic targeting. So I'm going to call this ad group 1. So type the ASIN in here, find it in this list, and then I've added it already. Now the default bid. So again, with the automatic campaign, Amazon does everything itself. You can't choose to bid on specific keywords with specific different bids. All you can do is set this default bid and let Amazon work out the rest. And you'll find out very quickly, it really depends on the product whether this bid is too high or not. The suggested bid is not a bad idea, and you can just use this suggested bid range. My products are less competitive than this mat apparently is, so I normally start with $1. If you wish, make it $1.50, $2. You'll find out quite quickly how much you're spending and whether you're using up your ad budget. Because again, if you are bidding too much, you'll only go up to that ad budget anyway. So just make sure the budget is something that you're willing to spend and then set this bid accordingly. If you aren't spending enough per day, then you can increase it. But I think $1, $1.50 is normally fine. Optional negative keywords, leave that out for now, and then click Launch Campaign. So that's it for the automatic campaign. As you can see, it's really quick and easy to set up. You can just review the details if you wish, but I know that's correct. So then we'll go back to the campaign manager and we're going to do the manual campaign now. Now, the way that we structure our manual campaign does depend on this previous decision. Are we using broad and exact, or are we just going to use broad or just exact, or all three? Now, because I'm really focused on the exact match manual campaigns, I actually want to control the budget separately. So because I want to control the budget separately, I'm going to create two separate manual campaigns in this case. So I'd call them yoga mat, exact, and again, going through this the same way. So what will happen here is I'll probably start the budget off with this one lower because I don't know yet what these keywords are going to perform like. But over time, as we go through that weekly or bi-weekly optimization process, and these exact match keywords get better and better, and the bids get better and better, I'm going to increase this budget up and up and up. And ideally, I can really increase it to a large amount where basically whatever I can spend, I will spend. But at the start, I don't have that confidence. So I'm going to start it off at $10, not 100. Now here with targeting, then we're going to choose manual. And as we scroll down, ad group name, again, ad group 1. If you wanted to keep the campaign structure a bit simpler and just do yoga mat manual, and you wanted to have broad, phrase, exact underneath this campaign, that's fine. And then you would just call this one exact, and the next ad group would then be called broad or phrase or whatever. But again, I'm doing it my way. So I'm going to call this one, what was it? Exact. And this doesn't matter. Then I'm going to add that product again, added. So keyword bids. In general, your order should have the lowest bids, followed by your broad or phrase, and then exact should be the highest. That again comes down to the relevancy and the focus that you have with those campaign types and also ad group types. So in this case, because my automatic campaign was set at $1, I obviously want this to be higher because this is the exact match. So I'm going to put this at $1.50. So entering keywords, we're going to take the keyword list that we generated before, make sure this is the one you want. So in this case, exact, grab those keywords. Once we've added in those keywords, just click add keywords, and you can see here they've all added. Now you'll see for each keyword the suggested bid, and you have the option to click apply all to make instead of the default keyword bid, which I set as $1.50, you can apply the suggested bid. Now these will be similar but not necessarily the same as the Jungle Scout ones, again due to the timing differences. Take a look through these, and rather than clicking apply all, just check, because sometimes a certain keyword might have a super high bid, and if you just click that and you don't look at it and you have a limited budget and then you don't monitor this, what you may find is that a particular keyword or a few keywords will actually eat up that entire budget, and you won't have any left over for the other keywords, and you won't notice until it's too late. So I would go through this and just confirm that they're all the price that you're willing to pay. So for example, maybe $5.50 is too high. So if that were the case, you could either apply all and then change it manually later, or just manually go through and click apply to the ones you want. So in general, what we're trying to do at the start is to use the suggested bid and to get as much data as possible, basically just by paying whatever Amazon wants so that we can see whether these products are converting for these keywords or not. But just watch out for those individual keywords that might be way too high. And it really depends on your product. You may be doing this for your own product and seeing that most of these bids are really, really high. And this goes back to one of the fundamental concepts of Amazon FBA, which is that competitive niches, you really have to spend a lot more money than you sometimes think on things like advertising. And if, for example, you only had a very limited PPC budget because you simply didn't have more money available, well, this could be a really critical step. But in this case, I'm going to assume that I have the money to find out whether all of these keywords are good or not. So I'm going to go apply all and just let them all be suggested bids. And then we're going to click launch campaign. So that one's done successfully. Now we are going to create the broad campaign as well. I won't go through this again. It's exactly the same process, but when you add the keywords, just make sure that you change the match type to broad. You'll also notice that most of the suggested bids will be lower, again, because the keywords aren't as focused and therefore they're less relevant, and therefore to your competitors, they're worth less to bid on. And that's step 2 done. So you can see the campaigns here. I've added them. I've already paused them. And then step 3, we're going to run this and we're going to wait. Now, the only thing to really watch out for is those individual keywords in the manual campaign. And that's if you're doing this the fast way. If you are doing this the slow way, you're just using the auto campaign, then there's nothing that you can really check. But if you've got those manual campaigns running, just do watch out for 1 or 2 keywords that are really eating up all of your budget. Other than that, again, sit back and wait until you get the data. There's a 24 to 72 hour delay, so you won't be able to see the sales coming through anyway. And after the week has passed, let's go to step 4 and generate a keyword search term report. And this search term report is where it all really happens. This is the engine room where it goes from burning money to making money. So we can find the search term report either through reports, advertising reports, or when we're in the campaign manager, we can simply click on this button here, add reports. So the report period, you can customize this and put in whatever you want. I'm going to say that we started on the 18th and start the data from there until today. So let's go apply and then create report. So that will take a little while to load, and then you'll be able to click there and to download it. All right, so I've pulled up the search term report and let's have a quick look. So you can see some of these columns are the same as what we'd see in Campaign Manager. If we have a look here, you can click these little question marks to see the definition of each one. But basically impressions is how many times the ad gets seen. Clicks is how many times somebody clicks on the ad after it's been seen. Spend is obviously the amount that you spent on the ads. Click-through rate is the percentage of clicks to impressions. Cost per click is the amount that you pay per click. And again, that is different to the bid amount because of all of that sort of adjustment that Amazon does. So it's normally going to be less than the bid amount by, I don't know, 20 or 30%. It varies a fair bit. Orders is the amount of the amount of orders that came out of each keyword or each campaign in this case. And then you have your sales and your ACOS. So ACOS stands for advertising cost of sale. And that is actually the percentage of the advertising cost divided by the total sales that were generated through that advertising. Now, all of these are important metrics, and we can look at these again here in the search term reports. We've got the same ones, cost per click, spend. Here the definitions are a little bit different. So it just has the whole one here, ACOS. So that 7-day metric, which you can see repeated here and then across to all of these ones, what that means is that if somebody clicks on your ad and then 6 or 7 days later, they come back and they make that purchase, even though they didn't click on your ad in the last 5 days, that sale will still get attributed back to that original click. So the total time period which Amazon will attribute sales to your PPC ads is a 7-day window. That's one of the reasons why there's that data delay, is because not only does the system take a while to process it, 24 to 48 hours, but then also customers are actually coming back later on and buying those items as well. So if you want 100% accurate data, you actually have to move the time period that you're looking at, the data period, to 7 days in the past as the most recent date. However, we go with around 48 hours is good enough to get 80 to 90% accuracy. And so all of these metrics are really important. And again, this is one of my favorite reports. I know it's just a lot of jumbled data, but there is so much useful information in this report. So going back to the remaining steps in our 7-step process, we want to find the highest converting search terms and then find the best keywords, which really means highest converting as well. And then we want to optimize all of the bids. So how do we define converting or best keywords? So this is, for now, we're not going to look at the ACOS. We're just going to see, are keywords making us sales? Because if the keyword is making sales, that means it's relevant. And for the purpose of finding these new keywords that we can then add into our listing, add into PPC, start ranking for, start advertising for, relevancy is what matters. And relevancy is defined by whether or not a customer will buy it. So if customers are buying these products while searching for these specific keywords or search terms, then those are keywords and search terms that we need to know about. So what we're looking for in the search term report is really any search terms that have a high conversion rate or a high number of orders. And we're going to take the best performing keywords. First of all, we're going to add them directly back into the campaigns. So to find these search terms, it's quite simple. In this report, all we have to do is filter and then sort by the total orders or the total units. Both will be very similar. And basically just find all of these unique search terms which are making sales. And any of them that aren't in that previous keyword list, we want to add as new search terms in our manual campaigns. So let's just assume that none of these were in that previous keyword list. After we've got our data, we found these new search terms here, 1 to 14. So we'll go to these campaigns, and remember the auto is all done by Amazon, so we can't add in keywords. We have to go to the exact one, go through into ad group 1, because that was the only one that we created. Click on keywords. And here we have the 99 that we added before, and now we're going to add more. So we'll provide your own keywords and just add these in here. And remember, this is our exact campaign, so we need to make these exact match type as well. And once we have that list, we just go add these keywords, add them in there. And now we've added these new ones in, which we've identified as like high performing, well converting keywords. And so we're going to bid on them. And remember that the exact match is where you get this powerhouse, because you know that if you're bidding on search term 1, you know that search term 1 it generated 5 orders, let's say, in the last week. So that is definitely going to generate more orders. Now, again, depending on how many keywords you really want to manage, I will normally add all of these back in. So anything that generated 1 or more orders. If you really want to keep things simple, then you can just pick the top few. So for example, anything that's generating maybe 2 orders will give you a much smaller list, but also much more focused. So it'll be easier to control your spend on the keywords that are really converting the most. Now, I just added them in the exact match manual campaign, but I also want to add them to the broad match manual campaign as well. And again, that's because that campaign is for generating these new search terms like these ones that we've just found, so that next week or the week after that, we can add even more good ones into this list. So there was one thing that we didn't do yet, and this is a step that you don't have to do as often as just adding these converting search terms. But what you can do is sometimes find new longer tail keywords. And to do that, you need to be selective because only the best keywords will give you more good keywords. But we can find those search terms. So amongst that list that we just added to those campaigns, the ones that are really highly converting and really doing well. So in this case, depending on how many you wanted to find, you could probably pick, I probably wouldn't pick this one because although it's generated 4 sales or 4 orders, the conversion rate is incredibly low. So I'd probably look at search term 1 with a 17% conversion rate and 5 orders, 3, 4, and 5, and I'd take those search terms, put them back into Keyword Scout or another keyword research tool, and then use that process again to generate more long tail keywords. I'd probably find a couple that we haven't yet identified. And then I'd do exactly the same process, add those new long tail keywords into both the broad and the exact match campaign. Now it depends how much time you want to spend doing this, but you could keep looking down this list. So you could look at, I probably would skip search term 7 as well because it has a low conversion rate, but you could look at 8, 11, 12, and both 13 and 14 as well. And just keep finding those hidden nuggets of good long tail keywords that then again, you can go through this whole process. You can see how this keeps going and keeps repeating and keeps being optimized, is that week after week, you're identifying new keywords that you can bid on. And as time goes on, you'll find a lot of these longer tail keywords that are much cheaper than the first ones that you first put in. And so it's getting cheaper as you're going. You're expanding the size and the scope and the number of the keywords that you have that you can bid on. And remember what we talked about earlier, each keyword that you bid on starts that ranking process happening. And so as you're increasing your organic rank for that search term or for that keyword, then you're increasing your organic sales. And so you can see this whole machine is slowly starting to gather speed. Okay, now the next point, however, is the flip side. So we're finding all of these great keywords, but what about the ones that just aren't doing well, the dogs? What do we do with them? So we want to cut these out, but we need to make sure that we're giving each keyword enough time and enough data, and which means spending enough money to know whether it's a good keyword or not. So the conversion rate is the number of clicks it takes to make a sale. So a 10% conversion rate means that it takes 10 clicks to make 1 sale. A 20% conversion rate means every 5 clicks you're going to make a sale. Unless you're paying the money to make all of those clicks on your keywords, you really don't know whether they're performing or not. You just have to give them time. So let's look in the search term report and identify a couple of these and see whether they're good or bad. So first of all, I want to filter out anything that's made an order. So I only want to look at the ones that could be duds. So I'm going to go straight to 0 orders. And then I'm going to sort by clicks. And I think you can see here that there are a few search terms that really should not be there. So this one has had 38 clicks on it and 0 sales. So that means that if I were to get a sale now, it would be 1 sale to 38, or let's say 40 clicks to make it easy. That's a 2.5% conversion rate. So that is really bad. I don't have any products that have conversion rates that low, which effectively means that that search term is a complete dud for me. So that means that I've just wasted that $18. So that one needs to go. And then you can say the same thing about all of these. So let's go down just as another example. This one, if this one were to make a sale right now, that would still be 22 clicks. So that's a conversion rate of less than 5%. Again, really low. And so that search term, this one here, it's just probably not going to do it for us. So I would probably remove all of these. So now that we've identified that these search terms are no good and they need to go, and we've actually wasted $120 on these search terms, how do we actually stop bidding on them? Well, we can't directly bid on them because most of these, for example, broad, all of these broad ones, and probably some of the exact ones too, the search term will be different to the keyword. So you can change the keyword bid, but then that's affecting the bids of all of the search terms that are feeding into that keyword. So to be specific with the search term, we have to use this thing called negative matching. And the way that we do that is we go into this negative keyword section up here, And we can do something very similar to adding keywords to our PPC campaigns, but this is actually a negative keyword. So what we want to do is negative exact those search terms. So I didn't have names for them. I'm going to call them X, Y, Z, just those top three. And search term Z. So those three proven to be duds. We want to negative exact match them. Add these keywords. If we go like that now, so what will happen is that those specific search terms, and it's exact match, which means it will only be search term X or plural search term XS, and the same for Y and Z. These won't show up as search terms anymore. So we've very specifically been able to isolate these bad search terms, and from now on, Amazon won't spend any money on them at all. So we've removed these from the Yoga Mat exact campaign, but we know that the search terms are bad, so it doesn't matter whether they turn up in the broad match or in the automatic, we don't want them. So we actually have to go and duplicate this process. So you go into Yoga Mat broad and also Yoga Mat auto, go to the negative keywords section and do this exact same thing so that we know that in none of these campaigns, we're going to be bidding on these bad search terms. So going back to the search term report again, now we've gotten rid of all of these, but we still have this really long list of lots of search terms that have very few clicks on them. And the thing is, these haven't generated any sales, but we don't know yet whether they're bad or they're good. So if this one's only been clicked once, if it's been clicked twice and it still doesn't generate a sale, it could get clicked on the third time, and that's still a 30% conversion rate. So that keyword could still be a really good one. We just need to spend a bit more money and get a few more clicks on it. And what you'll find is that the vast majority of these come in with very few clicks. And all you have to do is just keep spending that money to keep testing them, find the good ones, isolate the bad ones, and continue that process. So the last thing is to manually check these search terms for relevancy as well, because I know that I said, wait until you've had enough clicks to know whether, based on the conversion rate, whether that's a good search term or not. But sometimes, even if you don't have those clicks, let's say it's one of these ones down here, let's say it's only got 6 clicks and you were expecting you'd need around 10 clicks to know, but let's say we're selling these yoga mats and this search term just happens to be a baking tray for men. I don't know. Nobody who's clicking on that is going to buy an exercise mat. They're looking for men's baking trays. So we can manually add that to the same list that we just excluded and into negative match for exact, for broad, and for auto as well. So that will just save you that advanced hassle of having to click this 4 to 5 or maybe even 10 times, spend that money when you know that there's no point in doing that. And the last thing is how to adjust bids for profitability. Now this is actually a really complicated topic. It really depends on your goals, what you want to do, obviously your profit margins as well. But there's a lot that really feeds into this, especially because your PPC campaigns affect your organic rankings, and it's your organic rankings that really drive profitability. But for now, let's keep this simple so that we can just get started and just start moving. Let's do the 20% of the work that's going to give us the 80% of the results. And let's just say that we want anything that's break even or making money. So anything where the profit margin is equal to or more than the ACOS. So now let's go and adjust those bids in Campaign Manager. So we'll go back to the ad groups for our Yoga Mat Exact. Remember, we can't do anything with the auto campaign, so this is only for the broad and the exact match manual campaigns. So we'll go into that ad group, go to the keyword list. So looking at this first example, Yoga Mat Long. So we've generated $128 in the last 7 days in sales at an ACOS of 20%. But we know that our profit margin is 40%. And going back to our old sheet, what we want is anything that's break even where the profit margin equals the ACOS, and anything below that is great. So we're making money if the ACOS is lower than the profit margin. And in this case it is, but what we can do is going back to that other graph, what we know is that when we have a low ACOS due to a low bid, what Amazon is giving us, remember I showed you this much earlier, it's giving us those ad results that are lower down on that page. They're cheaper, but they get less impressions. So this is lower, less clicks because less impressions, and therefore lower sales. Now remember that while it's nice to get profitable sales through PPC, another effect that we really need to consider is the effect of buying that space at the top here to be able to move our ranking up faster, our organic ranking. So in this case, I would be happy to double my bid, double that ACOS, but then get more sales overall and increase that ranking effect as well as selling more products. So to do that, if I'm looking at Yoga Mat Long, the bid was $2. I'm at 20%, I want to double my ACOS, so I also want to double my bid. So I would just type in $4 and save that. Now that process is exactly the same for these next three products. So the gym floor mat, it's at 43% ACOS. Again, that's higher now than our profit margin. So we're losing money on that, but very barely. So you could almost just leave that because it's very close, or you could go and adjust it down slightly. So gym floor mat is here. It's at $4.07. That's quite high. I want to reduce it just a little bit. I'm going to say $3.80. So I've saved that. And then look at these last two. The ACOS is so low. And so what that means is, great, we're generating sales, but what that tells me is that if we increase the bid, which will increase the ACOS, so technically making less profit per sale, we probably have a lot of room to really greatly increase the sales that we're making. And not only that, not only are we going to make more sales, we're going to push our organic ranking up this curve. So for both of these keywords, because that ACOS is so low, I would probably increase the bid a lot. Now, it's also good to be cautious with this, and if you're looking at this every week, every 2 weeks, you don't want to adjust things in huge jumps. So I'd probably limit this to doubling it and just see what happens there. So let's say exercise mat is at $4.07, so I would bid that up to $8. I mean, that's a really high bid, so maybe I would keep it at 6 or 8, whatever. And then same for foam tile flooring. So I'm going to go and double that to $2. And guys, that is really it. That is the optimization process, and done correctly over time, you'll be adding fuel to the powerhouse, the engine room of PPC campaigns. So this process, if done correctly every week or every 2 weeks, over time, this is going to be like adding fuel onto that fire. You're going to supercharge your sales. Okay, so I wanted to close with some commonly asked questions that I've received recently about the PPC process. I hope I've probably answered most of these during this tutorial, but here they are again. So ranking with PPC, is it viable? Is it worthwhile? Is it a valid strategy? Can you launch with PPC? Definitely the answer is yes, and I hope I've shown that in this tutorial already, but basically this is the process that I've used to launch all of my products up until now. Definitely, even if you're launching using another method, PPC will always help. These principles that I've explained always apply. The next question is when to start PPC. Should you wait for reviews before starting, or is there a particular time period? As I showed you before, there are two different ways of doing it, the slow and the fast way, and I always do the fast way. And similarly with this, I will always kind of just start PPC almost straight away, or even straight away without any reviews. The reason why is, yes, your conversion rate will be lower when you don't have reviews, you don't have that social proof, but a large part of this, I hope I've shown you, is that it's about gathering that data, that treasure trove of Amazon's data as to what keywords and what search terms are really relevant for your product. And you want to start gathering that as soon as you can so that you can start optimizing as soon as you can as well. There is one exception to this rule. I would say if it's a super competitive niche and you're just competing against people with hundreds of reviews or hundreds or even thousands, then this probably won't work because nobody will really pick your product amongst those other ones. But if that's the case, then you really need to have some sort of solid launch strategy anyway. I really don't recommend that you go into niches like that. So if you haven't, then I do recommend that you just start the PPC. And some mistakes that people ask me about, they come to me with problems, looking for solutions. People running at more than 100% ACOS for a long period of time, it's natural for it to happen at the start for a few weeks, for a month. But again, as you're doing this optimization, you should see that come down. I have had a few people mentioning that they've had like 200 to 300% ACOS consistently over time. If that's your issue and you've spent a lot of the money and you've gathered the data properly for each keyword, more than 10 clicks or whatever the conversion rate is, and you're still just running at that really high ACOS, then that's a product problem, not a PPC problem. That means that your product is just not converting. And so you need to do something else other than just optimizing bids, because that really won't fix that problem. Second one, I've definitely covered. So that's about not waiting long enough, not spending enough money on those keywords to see whether they're viable or not. You have to give it, whatever the conversion rate is, give it that many clicks, otherwise you just don't know. And the last is not using PPC at all, or just not using it properly. And so I hope that this tutorial has really helped simplify that. I know there's, it can be very intimidating. There's so much terminology. The process seems so unclear or undefined, and you can spend a lot of money on it too, but this process does work. And I really hope that you'll go away and you'll follow these steps and learn this process. Watch this video as many times as you need to, because it's all there, but it does take a while to sink in, I know. But I think the most important thing is follow these steps and just take action, just go and do it. And don't be afraid to experiment for yourself, because PPC, above all else, is about experimentation and gathering that data and then optimizing from there. Whoa, if you made it this far to the end of this video, then I congratulate you. Honestly, you're well ahead of the pack already. The first key ingredient to success is being able to focus for a long period of time and just absorb new information. The second key ingredient is taking action. So I want you to go away with the information that you've learned from this video today, and I want you to put it in place. I want you to create your first PPC campaigns. I guarantee that you'll see the results immediately. If you want access to more valuable content like this, if you haven't already, then do subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell button. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. And if you're really serious about improving your life and you're ready to take the action to make that happen, and you want access to my mentorship to help you accelerate that journey for yourself, then again, click that first link in the description down below. Leave your contact details, and as soon as there's availability, I'll reach out to you with more info. The next video is coming right up. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you there.